All right, all right. We are live once again. It is my pleasure to have Jennifer Lunsford join us. She is a senior benefits advisor specializing in Medicare. So, Jennifer, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me. I appreciate this.
Absolutely. How's your week been?
It's been busy, but
Yeah,
good busy. Holidays always throw us off, right? So,
yeah,
but it was
that's
a great
true. Yeah.
holiday. They do. It's like, what day
It,
is it?
tomorrow is Friday already.
Friday. I know, but yeah, and
Yeah,
when summer's here, I feel like summer's here in
yeah,
Georgia. So yeah, good
yep.
week.
And June is the best month of the year. I guess you know why that is, right?
Hmm. You tell me why you think June is the best month of the year.
Birthday.
There you
But so, all right. Well, let's kick it off and just
go.
tell us a little bit about yourself, Jennifer.
So, I am what I consider to be unique, and you're going to relate to this really well. But I am a native Georgian.
Mm.
So, yep, born and raised right here in south of Atlanta. So, I've been here my whole life. So, two little trips, one to Florida for a minute, one to South Carolina for a short minute, also. But I've been here forever. Graduated from Stockbridge High School long time ago.
Oh,
I know. See, we have a lot in common. We're
yeah.
from
We are definitely both
here.
natives. I'm born and raised here too. The only difference is I'm probably about 20 years older than you are.
Well, so that's interesting too. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm actually excitedly celebrating my birthday this year. I will be 50 in September.
Hey,
I know,
I would
yay!
have thought early 40s, but there you go.
Thanks.
So,
Well, no, 50. So my husband turned 50 a few months ago, and I'm following
any,
right behind him.
yeah,
I'm
my wife.
excited though. Everyone says women that's like one of our best decades, and I'm believing it. I'm
Yeah,
claiming it. So yeah.
yeah.
But
Me and my wife, we
oh, go ahead.
we blazed through the 50s, and now I'm turning 60 and she just turned 61.
Oh,
So we're entering the 60s. Come on, stop. That's like when
I
I go to
know.
these senior events, obviously being in the business, people mistake and think I'm actually there as a possible client. I'm like, no.
Not yet.
Not
That's
yet.
pretty funny, actually. Well,
That is.
yeah, cute, funny little story though. So my mom just turned 75, and so
Mm.
she looked at me right around when we were together for Mother's Day, and she said, do you remember what you did to me on my 50th birthday?" And I was like, "Yeah, I kind of sort of thought you were old."
Changes, don't it?
Oh, it does. I apologize. I said, "Mama, I'm so sorry for your 50th
Yeah.
birthday."
Yep.
So
Well,
hope you be nice to me about it.
could you share some background of what led you into this industry?
So this fell into my lap. This was actually something I believe was given to me as a gift. I am a certified health coach, and I've been doing that for 6 years. And that has been an incredible blessing because I've actually been able to help people find their health journeys. Weight loss has been my focus in that, and
Mhm.
I also help a lot of people work just finding ways to add fitness into their life, and it's been a joy. It has been a true
Yeah.
joy. But one of the things I have loved doing is I actually volunteer over at the Fayette Senior Services, which, by the way,
Mm.
a great place for anyone listening in Fayette County. Fantastic place. And I've really enjoyed working there for 3 years, working with seniors. Well, then sometime last year, I was approached by a insurance agency here in Fayette County to talk to me about working for them. And it was
Mm.
not because I'd shown interest in insurance. It was just we have built a relationship. And he said, Jennifer, I would love for you to work with me. Would you ever be interested? And I kind of hesitated, but thought about it. It was like, oh, I would have to work for someone because I've been independent now for almost 6 years and not
Mm.
working for someone. So fast forward, probably within a month, someone very randomly approached me and about the same thing. She said, have you thought about insurance? But not just life and health insurance. What about Medicare? And I was like, I didn't even know if this was a thing, Mark. I had no
Mm.
idea. I had no idea there was this thing for licensed insurance in Medicare. So
Right.
did my research, and I said, you know what, this is something I really do want to start working in because I've just loved working with seniors. And then also I'm working with my mother-in-law through some tough trials and tribulations with her, and listening to her talk about Medicare. I said, there's
Mhm.
a service here. So
Yeah.
I jumped in feet first, held my nose, and discovered it is one of the most complicated things that a senior has to muddle through, and I don't believe it's very fair. So I said
Yeah.
to myself, if I can try to uncomplicate it, put the pieces of this massive puzzle together for them, then you know what? I'm going to do it. So that is literally what happened. It just came to me. I was not seeking it out.
That is the best way for things to happen in life, really. It becomes an easier path, so to speak. It's almost like you're being pulled,
I was
instead
guided.
of,
I use the word, yep. I say I was
yeah,
guided into this. It just literally fell in my lap by two people.
yeah. Well, and I'm sure that what's happened as you have uncovered just how complex it is, you see the value of what you're doing, so
Yeah.
that gets into you're providing an incredible value to uncomplicate the complicated.
Yeah.
So with that said,
Mhm.
kind of transition into a lot of beneficiaries. They don't know that they could even qualify for even the
Yeah.
chronic plan. So what is a chronic plan? Because like you're saying, it's so complex.
Yeah.
Let's take it down to someone that is in a chronic situation. How do they qualify for that kind of plan?
So I will tell you, when I got into the insurance, into the Medicare last year, one of my very first beneficiary clients was my mother-in-law. And this is what, like you just said, this is such a service that we're giving that, and I didn't even understand how much of a service I was giving till I got into this right here. My mother-in-law was in the hospital in 2019 for about, I think it was 6 or 7 days. I mean, and I was pretty much her advocate because my husband's working and I was able to go and help her. I'm sure you know what that means. It's going and talking to the doctors and being there. Well, that's 2019. Fast forward to 2023 when I'm a Medicare insurance agent and my mother-in-law says to me, "Hey, I would love for you to talk to me about my insurance." I said, "Well, have you
Mm.
ever had a review?" And she was like, "No, no one's ever talked to me about that." And I said, "Okay." I sat down with her, and in 4 years, no one had shared with her that there are these things called chronic plans. And I said to her, I said, "Listen, you qualify for what we call a chronic plan because you have diabetes.
Mm.
There's some congestive concerns, heart, cardiovascular, pulmonary. There's all these issues that are kind of compounded. And I found a plan that actually was going to start saving her money, a lot of money actually, and also giving her some benefits she had no idea she had access to." So when I was able to sit down with her and save her money through her premium, save her money with her copay, save money with her maximum out of pocket expenses, and then also add on these benefits that she had no idea about, again, that brought me so much joy. And I said, okay, well, now this actually might be one of my focus points because, Mark, how many of our seniors have diabetes
Mm-hmm.
or cardiovascular concerns, or there's a few other little check boxes they can qualify for? So when I realized this, I was like, this is a gold mine for them to
Yeah.
understand that they can actually get extra benefits, extra care. And right now, where we are in, with economy, that's really important to seniors.
It is, and like you're
Mhm.
saying, no one's going to come along. The government's not going to call and go, "Hey, it's time to renew your, review your plan." But is it true that, as an example, everybody, how often should someone have their plan reviewed?
Every year,
Every
every
year.
year. And that is someone, whether they are on what we call the original Medicare, which is just A and B, because some beneficiaries can only do A and B. They should have that reviewed because they need to understand that premiums, even with A and B, will go up. Deductibles could change. But also with anyone who has Medicare Supplement or Medigap, as it can also be called, and especially Medicare Advantage. So
Hmm.
anyone who is a beneficiary of Medicare should do it annually at their renewal for original and supplement. And then Advantage has open enrollment from October to December. So every year, everyone should have a
And
review.
is it true that if someone moves and they move to the
Yeah.
county over, that they actually need to redo their plan? And they may have some different benefits available in that county that wasn't, and if I'm asking it correctly,
Yeah.
so even if you move to another area, same state, just different county, that needs to be looked into, correct?
Different plans actually will, they can totally, completely kick you out of the
Mm.
plan if you don't meet, if you do not check and make sure that you're in network, for especially as a Medicare,
Okay, that's the word. Okay, yeah.
you can lose your network and then you have
Wow.
no coverage. Medicare, the supplement plans are a little bit different. They actually can move with the beneficiary.
Okay.
However, if they have prescription D part, so the Part D prescription plans, if they have a Part D plan, they have got to check and make sure they are still in network. So see the
Okay.
puzzle pieces that we have to put together with this. So
Yeah.
moving, and that's another thing I love to tell anyone about, because I get these looks from, kids like us. You and I both have parents who are, in Medicare, right? And so when I'm talking about this and I'm sharing a story with a friend of mine, they're like, oh my gosh, are you saying they could
Mhm.
actually they can lose their insurance coverage if they do
Yeah.
not research it. Zip code to zip code. So you and I live really close to each other, right? But you and I
Mhm.
live in two very different zip codes, two different
Right.
counties. If one of, someone just moves this close, like a few miles, it can change everything in their coverage. So yes,
Wow.
yeah.
That is
They
just
don't,
that's complex. That by itself is complex.
and
I
they
mean,
don't
forget
know it.
all the other stuff.
Yeah.
But that gets back to where obviously I'm sure you're all over this, but that's where it makes sense for real estate agents to connect people with this, because they're actually moving and go, hey, by the way, just put this pamphlet in your, with the closing documents. I'll just say here.
Oh, isn't that the truth? Or even, you know what, in our arena, let's say we have seniors who are moving from, or downsizing into assisted living homes or independent
Mhm.
living. They don't
Yeah.
know either, and maybe their children don't know, and so great.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's just like,
anytime you've,
yeah, basically getting with a bunch of closing attorneys that are
mhm,
actually closing the real estate. Forget the agents that are trying to sell the house. Get with the closing attorneys that are
right.
actually closing the mortgages and go, hey, pass this on. But we've kind of already touched on some of this. But why is working with an independent agent more important for Medicare beneficiaries versus going
Mm,
online and trying to work directly with carriers? That's a loaded one, but it's
yeah.
worth
So
bringing up.
I love this question because I am actually in a networking group, and all of us talk about how you can go online and call a 1-800 I don't know who you are number. And you don't know who the other person on the other side of the line
Or
really,
what they know and don't know.
and then you don't know what's going to happen afterwards, right?
Yeah.
So this is one of the reasons I really wanted to become a Medicare agent. When I dove into it, like I was saying, I just jumped in and learned everything I could. Um, there are a lot of what I like to call bad actors in Medicare insurance. And on the other side of the phone, on the other side of the computer, maybe even on the other side of a carrier or an agency, you've got
Mm.
bad actors out there, and they will take advantage of the beneficiary. Just because you could
Hmm.
call 1-800, this is not a number, by the way, I don't know, but let's just say
Right, right.
1-800 senior benefits. You could
Yeah,
just call a number that you see online or that is recommended to you. You don't know who that person is. You don't
yeah.
really know who they work for. They could say, well, I work for senior benefits. Well, you and I could claim that. You
Yeah,
don't
we
know
can
who
claim
they work.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what I love about being an agent is this: my services are absolutely free to the beneficiary. And by the way, that is a red flag. I've actually seen someone marketing themselves as a Medicare coach, and they are charging for their services. And we
When they
are
could get the same thing just by going through a
an
independent
agent.
agent like yourself, yeah.
Well, they're claiming that they are not an agent and that they're actually trying to protect the beneficiary.
Well
But it's a
well,
red
but they're right, but they're charging for something they should get for free by
flag
a
from us.
consult with someone like yourself, right?
Exactly. So our services are absolutely free. The other thing is they have someone that they can get to know.
Mm,
I love working with people in my county, in my area, because we get to know each other better.
yeah,
I mean, I can work with anyone in the state of Georgia, which is fun too, because that's where I'm from. But I love the fact that I can get to know people. You can't get to know someone on the other side of 1-800 senior
yeah,
benefits.
yeah,
And then for a lifetime, for them and for myself, they have
yeah,
a free service with me. I'm going to
yeah,
contact them every year and say, hey, it's time for renewal. Hey, it's time to review, or check in on them. If they're on Facebook and I'm Facebook friends with them, I can see if have they not felt well lately. And there's another
right.
opportunity to review some changes in their plan. So I think it's relationships, getting to know each other, getting to know people, and I'm not going to take advantage, of course,
Yeah.
right? Because that is one of the reasons I realized why I wanted to do this was to help our senior community um,
Yeah.
have someone they can trust. So I think it's important to have an independent agent versus the 1-800 numbers. Or by the way, if and when someone goes online, this happens to us too, and you punch in your information into one of those blocks about, hey, would you like to receive a phone call about your Medicare
Mm.
plan? They're going to sell your information.
Yep.
And I think we might be able to touch on that a little bit more later, but as soon as your information is sold and you don't know who's going to call
You
you, how
you're
many
gonna get hammered with calls. The same thing happens on the placement side. You have these online lead aggregators or
yes,
whatever that they dominate online space. They have landing pages. It looks like some of the communities. So someone's looking for assisted living community or memory care. They
uh,
search something, assisted living near me, and they click on the link, and it looks like a community, but it's actually, one of these big companies,
yeah,
and they take your data, they register it with Lord knows how many, and all of a sudden they're getting bombarded with phone calls. And to where then when someone legit calls to try to truly help them, you become part of the aggravation, so
exactly. Because it's the same thing. We are in that
it's,
industry. As
we
soon as
are.
you punch it in, again, it can happen with us. Our information is sold. So
Yeah.
that breaks the relationship and the trust factor. I believe is
Yeah.
important, especially in the seniors. I think it's
Yeah.
important for them to trust who they work with. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Well,
about
they're already confused enough. I mean, mom and dad in their 90s, and it's just they become frail and easy to take advantage of. And
yeah.
so you have to kind of watch out for them. What are some of the other insurance options available to seniors on Medicare that they may not think about or don't know they need?
Oh, so this is a great question. So I have learned out in the Medicare insurance world, it's very different than those of us who might have group health, and while we're still under 65 years old. Um, they let's see, how can I phrase it? They can lose some of their benefits. And what I mean by that is you and I may have a group health plan under 65 with an employer, and it can cover everything. It can cover our copays. It can cover our hospital deductibles. It can just whatever we possibly need. It can cover everything. In the Medicare world, some of that changes quite a bit, depending on the
Mm.
type of plan that the Medicare beneficiary has. So what I've learned is we do have opportunities for Medicare beneficiaries with maybe hospital indemnity plans, which
Mm.
is something that will help cover deductibles and copays in hospital stays, like lengthy hospital stays. We also provide insurance plans to our seniors that may be cancer, stroke, and heart attack. And a lot of times maybe they don't think about that because like I said, for myself, I don't have to think about that. I've got great group health coverage
Mhm.
under 65, but you lose a lot of potential coverage when you go into Medicare with that. So these types of policies with cancer, stroke, and heart attack, they are coverage that's minimal premiums as well as maybe discounted premiums. If you use the carrier your Medicare is with, you can actually kind of tag it on as an especially in like let's just use a major carrier. We'll use Senior Benefits as a carrier name again.
Mm.
Let's just say you have Senior Benefits carrier. You have your plans with them. They actually can add on these extra plans at lower premium rates. So I think that's
Okay.
an incredible discount for them. But the cancer, stroke, heart attack plans are really great opportunities because anything can happen at any given minute to a senior, and you don't want that to wipe out their life savings.
Yeah.
So these plans are available to them so that they can protect themselves and their families, right? Because you and I both know one medical emergency can wipe them out and then maybe
Yep.
wipe out the family too. So there
Yep.
are plans out there like that, as well as in one that I'm asked a lot about, and that's final expense, or I don't know, some people call it burial insurance.
Okay. 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 All right.
There's different
Okay.
words for it, but they're small policies that you get to cover your funeral burial expenses. And I have a personal story about that. My dad passed away in 2012, very young. Vietnam veteran exposed to Agent Orange, who passed away later.
Wow. I'm
Yep.
sorry.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you. But this was a valuable lesson for me. This is why I do talk about this particular policy with clients. When he passed away, there was no savings, and I didn't know that. And so we were sitting at the funeral home at the table, and we were given the bill. And at that time, I don't know if things have changed. I've not been this close to a family member passing, but we only had 30 days to pay that bill.
Wow.
And my stepmom did not have that. So we called it, well, we just had to start passing the plate, right? We were just like, we started telling people. And fortunately, we were blessed, family members, friends, we got it taken care of. However, if my dad had a final expense burial policy, that would have been a burden on us we would not have worried about. And I will tell you, Mark, I believe this with my heart. If my dad had known he could have had that type of policy to not burden us with, he would have done it. But I don't think anyone told him about it. So there's policies out there for them. And most of us in the Medicare insurance world, we are licensed to help them with those expenses.
You know, it's a shame, but the first thing that I thought about is it's unfortunate that with him serving our country and being injured in wartime, he should have been told through the VA. They shouldn't have to.
Yeah, I've wondered.
They shouldn't have to seek it out. You know, they should just know, like here, you know, how to, like Sandra Brownlee, has been on the show, and she's retired military. She was an Army Master Sergeant, and she just serves seniors and helps them with their VA benefits. And it's a shame that they're not shown when you know, how to become a civilian again. How do you go from military life to civilian? And part of that is, here's what's in place for you. They shouldn't have to go seek it out, but that's a whole nother topic. But let me ask you this. Is it true that you have to be 65 for Medicare?
Not necessarily. So that's a great question. So you can be under 65 years old and still qualify for Medicare benefits. There are some check boxes you have to check off. One of them in particular is if you have been disabled and you have received Social Security benefits for at least 24 months, you will qualify, or I should say you may, but you will qualify for Medicare as a beneficiary. Another one is renal failure. So if kidney disease, renal failure, those patients also would qualify for Medicare benefits. So there are some beneficiaries out there that can qualify for Medicare under 65, but there, like I said, there are some check boxes. So there again, that's a great reason why to have an independent agent who can run through that checklist with you, just to make sure I have actually run into an instance with someone on disability who did not qualify. And of course we figured out why. We got it all sorted out. We understood it. But you've got to check boxes especially with Social Security and the Medicare, Medicaid.
And I actually know a good person for someone to contact. Her name's Jennifer.
I will check boxes all for you.
So let me ask you this. Then when someone, let's say they turn 65 and they apply, or for Medicare, can they drop their other insurance policies? Do they need those other policies, or just strictly can be on Medicare?
So that's a great question. And that is definitely where you want an agent to come in and try to guide. So my job is to guide a beneficiary through the process and help them see what is the best option for them. So let's say you and I turn 65 in a few years and you're still working, and you have health coverage. Well, you have to enroll into the original Medicare Part A. And then you've got to decide, do you want to pick up the Part B or not pick up Part B? I've actually had a beneficiary. She's still working. She still has what we call credible insurance through her employer. She's kept it, but she went ahead and enrolled into Part B. That was her choice, and she did, right? But you don't have to. You can actually defer your Part B until you retire or lose your employer's
Got you. Okay.
insurance. Now,
Got you. Okay.
here's something I just learned recently with my most recent turning 65-year-old Medicare beneficiary. She was on her husband's health insurance with his employer. And let's say her birthday was, I'm just going to throw it, but let's say it was March 10th. Well, as we started going through the process to get her A and B going, she went to a doctor's appointment on, I think it was, let's just say March 5th, and they said, you have no insurance. So what she had discovered was her husband's insurance dropped her on March 1st.
Oh, no.
And she didn't know that. She assumed there was going to be a crossover.
Mm.
And so it was, so there was this thing we had to kind of go through and get her enrolled into A and B and then get her Medicare picked. But that was something that you have to be aware of. Your spouse's health and your insurance. If you're under 65 and turning 65, they can drop you when they find out you're eligible for Medicare, so we're going to drop you. So those conversations should always happen several months prior to your 65th birthday. All of it. You've got, if you're under health insurance with a group, you need to go and talk to your health administrator, your benefits administrator at work, and say, I'm turning 65. What happens here?
And how many people aren't aware of that, right? Just to know to ask.
You need to ask. Because again, you need to make sure you have what we do consider and call credible insurance. And that doesn't just apply to the health and medical side, that also applies to your prescription drugs. So if your health insurance does not have what we consider credible, meaning can be covered, you can lose your prescription coverage as well. And then if you do not enroll properly and on time with Medicare for your Part D prescription plan, you are penalized for life.
Jeez. Unreal.
I know. I don't understand that one, to be honest with you. I don't. But it's not for me to understand. It's for me to explain and help.
Explain it. Yeah.
Right. But if a person does not enroll or defer, whatever is the best option for them with their Part B and Part D, if they're under 65 and continue working, if they do not enroll or defer, they can be penalized. And I've actually talked to one of my clients who she and her husband were caught off guard by that, and they actually were penalized for Part B and Part D at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, let's open.
Mark, they didn't know when they turned 65.
Yeah. Well, let's open a can of worms here. What's the biggest complaint you hear about with Medicare beneficiaries?
So it kind of goes back to what we were talking about a second ago. The biggest complaint are those phone calls. And
Really? No surprise there.
They can complain about the medical care. They can complain about, their out-of-pocket expenses. They can complain about the differences between A, B, C, D, and G and N. They can do all of that, and I get it. I listen. But the biggest complaint I hear are these phone calls. And so I am going to tell you, we've got some great news. This might even apply into your world. So I thought I would just share with you that the FCC is actually going to crack down on this. And what they're going to do, so it's going to happen between now and the 2025 timeframe. The FCC is going after these lead generators, like what you were talking about with the lead agitator. So what's going to start happening is you and I will have to make sure the beneficiary of our services does what we call a one-to-one permission to contact. And in Medicare, I am incredibly monitored, and there's a lot of compliance on me as a Medicare insurance agent that I have to have a permission to contact someone. I cannot cold call. But these lead generators out there do it, right? And they're, like I said, bad actors out there. So what they're going to do is, if someone is ready to enroll in their Medicare plan and they see that 1-800 senior benefits or seniorbenefits.com, let me just punch in my information and go, they're actually going to be required to check a box for a permission to contact. And it has to be a permission to contact me. So this is great news, because that will stop the sale of their information and moving forward. Because what happens in the leads world And I know a lot of us in the senior world understand leads. We buy leads, or we can buy leads, right? What that means is if I purchase, just say 10 names to call, well, someone else has probably already called those 10 people, and someone else already
Absolutely.
called those 10 people. So, but the leads are just thrown into a pile. And
Well, I think that
they're gonna
gets back, sorry to interrupt, but it gets back to what you and I were talking about before the show is you need to have a heart to be in this business in any category.
Yep.
And if you don't, you're quickly found out. But it doesn't seem to matter to a lot of people because they just go about their business of, selling data,
Yeah.
just trying to make the money, ring the register, whatever, without they're not an advocate at all.
No.
And so that's the frustrating part. There is a dark side to this industry, and it's predatory,
Yeah.
taking advantage of seniors and their families and all that, to where people need to know what's available to them. And
Mhm.
just like yourself, we don't get paid either. We work for free. So
Right.
we only get paid by performing. And
Right.
so same thing with you, you're not charging, and packed full of valuable information,
Yeah.
to where it's just saying, hey, let me share with you what I know. Right. Again, is this the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Yes, that is. So that is a one-to-one permission to contact right there. So
There you
yeah,
go.
and that is important, right? The permission to contact is going to be very important in not just Medicare, but like I said, I believe this is going to extend across the board for us in the senior world. So that phone number right there is a direct contact to me. So they can call, and if I'm unavailable, they can definitely leave a message. But yeah, I want to help our seniors with this direct to contact, permission to contact, stopping. I'm so excited about these phone calls to stop, Mark. I really am. My
Yeah,
my
I
mother,
know.
I'll use another
Yeah.
story of my mother-in-law really quick. She told me just this week that she was like, because she just asked me, she's, do you make these phone calls to anyone? I said, no, I do not. No, I do not. And she was like, well, don't. And that's when I said, well, guess what? It is hopefully those phone calls will stop. Even,
Yeah.
they can't guarantee those phone calls from stopping altogether. However, I have good news for our Medicare beneficiaries out there. They should slow down tremendously once the
Yeah.
FCC checks the box and implements this. So, yeah, calling me directly instead of going online and just filling out a form or calling a 1-800 number, I would appreciate it. All of us, all of the Medicare insurance brokers and agents out here would appreciate the direct to contact calls.
Yeah.
We can help them. It goes back
Yeah.
to everything we've been saying about why it's important to build these relationships. One of them is just, I am not going to call someone randomly. I don't want
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else you would like to add before we wrap up?
I don't think so. I think this has been a really good conversation. I love educating people. So if I can just plug myself and what I'm looking for out there right now, we are kind of right now, most of us in Medicare, we're kind of in a slow time because there's no open enrollments available unless
Okay. All
you
right.
just have some random open enrollments happening. But I am open for speaking engagements with senior centers or assisted living, independent living. I'm always open to sit with advocates for the beneficiaries as well, to get to know them, build relationships. But church, senior groups, I love talking to senior groups at churches. So yeah, I'm just looking to open it up and get out there and educate people. That's because October's coming, and I will be busy from October to December and enrolling. I know it's coming.
Yeah.
I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to it. But in that meantime, I want to be actively educating people about this incredibly complicated puzzle of Medicare. So yeah,
Yeah.
if anyone out there in your podcast world looking for someone to speak to their seniors, I would love to do that.
Absolutely. And if we ever have any opportunities, we'll of course shoot people your way. And if we have any
Absolutely.
any events or whatever, we'd love to do some stuff together with you on that. But Jennifer, thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Absolutely. Yeah,
And
anytime.
so, yep. And so until next time, we will check everybody later and have a good evening.
Thank you.